Oh, it's Friday, so you know what that means. Friday night draft. Oh, it's about the receivers. We're doing that here on Locked On NFL Draft. Let's go.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Oh, you look at the calendar and you see it's Friday. You know it's Friday night draft time right here on Locked On NFL Draft. Get excited because the three of us will be bringing you that draft. I think it's a good one today. And along with me, John Harris, football analyst, sideline reporter for the Houston Texans, coming off a Thursday night game against the Eagles. I'm also owner-operator of FootballTakeover.com. Along with me, former NFL, AFL defensive back Eric Crocker. Flash of guns for him, Croc. There you go. There it is. Right there. Showing the flash of jewelry. Dang, man. You gotta get
the Arena Bowl champion, baby. Arena Bowl champs.
There you go. Arena Bowl champs. I love it. Down on the bottom there, you see at Ryan Tracy NFL on Twitter. It's Ryan Tracy, Rogue Analytics. I know the only one that I got is this one. And I tried. This is my wedding ring, and I tried to lose it on a football field. And 3 months later, I had somebody bring it back to me because they found it. So my wife has decided it's everlasting love, the fact that I still have that. So Eric's got his everlasting love with his Arena Bowl championship ring, which is very cool. All right, we're going to break down our Friday night draft topic in just a second. But a reminder that this show is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, Friday night draft. We've had a couple of pretty interesting topics. I think this one can get really interesting because it's going to merge our three different and unique philosophies through a draft at a particular position. So tonight, the three of us are going to build our individual best NFL wide receiver, the ultimate NFL wide receiver through traits of current NFL wide receivers. So, for example, Chris Moore plays for the Texans. He's one of my he's a guy I absolutely love. I would take Chris's toughness, and I would put that in a wide receiver. You get the trait of that particular wide receiver. So we could draft the same player, but it's got to be a different trait, if you follow what I'm saying. So we could all draft Chris Moore, but it would be a different toughness, hands, ability after the catch, whatever you want. That's how we're doing it. The ultimate wide receiver with current NFL wide receiver traits. Can't bring Randy Moss into this. We can't bring Jared Allen into this. We are keeping with current NFL players. We're going 4 rounds. That means we get 4 different traits. And I flipped a coin and decided, well, it didn't come up heads or tails. It just came up Ryan Tracy. So, Ryan, you're going first. Eric, you're going second. Then it'll snake back to me in third. So, Ryan, you get to pick your ultimate NFL wide receiver's best trait by picking a wide receiver in the NFL and one of his traits.
Well, I guess I'll take the easiest layup there is out there, given the team that I cover and a guy that used to play for them. And that is the short area quickness and change of direction ability of Tyreek Hill. Super simple. You want separation. That's the easiest way to do it, whether you're running short, intermediate, or down the field. Again, somebody else can have his long speed. This is just the ability he has to not only accelerate, but most importantly, how he decelerates, because he loses guys in that way just as much as able to turn on a dime and get separation. That helps every quarterback, whether it's Tua, Mahomes, or anybody else.
I really like that you brought him up and brought up the short area quickness, because I think that's something that's a little underrated as it pertains to receivers. Everyone wants that guy that runs that 4.2, 4.3 type speed, right? But when you look at the analytics, put it into a database. Hey, who are the guys that hit, right? The fastest guys that ever come through the combine. How well of an NFL career did they have? And a lot of times, not very good, right? I mean, we see it all the times in recent years, guys like John Ross, and nothing is John Ross. He had an NFL career, cool. But in the sense of being taken in the top 10, where he was taken, and mostly because of his speed, it's not something that necessarily really worked out in his favor. All right, well, I guess it worked out in his favor getting him drafted high. But as it pertains to having that great NFL career, you don't see a lot of guys that run that fast be great. Now, you can obviously have some exceptions. You look at guys like Randy Moss, etc. But on a consistent basis of guys that run the fastest, they aren't the best receivers. So to have a guy like Tyreek Hill and be as fast as he is, that's not really exactly what makes him great. It's the combination of being as fast as he is with the short area quickness that Ryan is talking about. And that's something that he had to really work hard on. He honed in on those skills of being able to start, stop. Shout out to Coach Dub Williams. That's who he's trained with. And Dub is now a receiver coach for the Baltimore Ravens. But previously, he's trained receivers like Devontae Adams, and a plethora of other guys, Kenny Stills. I mean, there's so many of them that he's worked with. But working on being able to accelerate, sit down those routes, get in and out of breaks. And you see Tyreek Hill, he's mastered having that elite game-changing speed, but being able to hone in on the short area quickness and change of direction. So I really like that you brought him up and mentioned the change of direction, because I think that's what actually makes him as special as he is.
Yeah. All right, Eric, you are second in this draft. Tyreek's change of direction, acceleration, short area quickness off the board. What say you, my man? Your pick, first round. Here we go. Build your ultimate NFL wide receiver.
Well, I'm actually going to mention another one of Dub Williams' guys, and I just mentioned him, Devontae Adams, right? Devontae Adams is a guy who's not fast, right? At the combine, he ran a 4.57, and it took him a few years to really come into his own in the NFL. Now, we saw what he did in college. He actually had one of the most decorated 2 years in college football history, I think, between him and Michael Crabtree, right? Like, those guys had special college careers in their respective ways. But at the NFL level, his craftiness, and that's what I'm drafting here. It was between him and Cooper Kupp. Guys that, and I mean, you could probably throw Hunter Renfrow in there as well. Mm-hmm. Guys that understand how to use leverage, how to use angles, guys that understand the little nuances of route running, right? When you watch Devontae Adams, whether it's his first step, or his ability to use a half step, and a half step is essentially it looks kind of like a stutter. So most people would just be like, oh, that was a stutter and go. But I call it a half step. That's what I learned it was. And that's while you're running, you basically take half a step and then keep going. And by the time the corner reacts to it, the receiver's gone. So when you are a guy that runs a 4.57, you're able to play faster by using those little things, creating enough separation to catch the ball vertically down the field. And for a guy that's runs a 4.57, how often have we seen Devontae Adams be able to win vertically? It's not because he's just running pure straight by guys. It's understanding the little nuances and being crafty. So I'm taking Devontae Adams' craftiness.
Love it. Just saw him a couple weeks ago, man. He is, well, being on the other sideline, it was not really fun to watch, but you got to respect it. I mean, it's just incredible to see it up close and just how he does things. He ran a route against Sting that was just incredible because he flies off the football and he gets to a point where it looks like he is going to throttle down. And so he looks like he starts to throttle down, and then he takes another 2 really hard steps like he's going to continue, and then breaks down and turns back to Derek Carr, and Sting is flying out of there. I mean, and I think anybody would have too. Just the pacing with which he ran that route and how he ran it was so impressive, and how he changed speeds, which goes right into the craftiness. So I'm going to make mine very, very easy because the key word in wide and receiver is receiver, which means you got to catch the ball. So everything we talk about, we see a lot of guys that could run, a lot of guys that could do some different things, but nobody that I have seen in the NFL has ever had the hands of DeAndre Hopkins. So I'm going to make this very simple. I've seen him catch footballs in so many different ways. In fact, the 2 greatest catches Hop ever had were 2 that didn't count. One in 2014 when he went up and made a catch better than Odell Beckham Jr. when he snagged it with his left hand, falling to the inside. He reached back and caught it with his left hand. It didn't count because there were 6 linemen in the game and he was supposed to be off the ball. He wasn't. Anyways, point being, that was incredible. And then against Miami on a Thursday night, he literally rendered Troy Aikman speechless because he caught a ball between his legs with one hand and got called for OPI. And I'm telling you, I've never seen a stadium buzz for that long. He could catch a pea in the dark with 2 fingers. He's that good. I'm going to take DeAndre Hopkins' hands. and the draft will snake back to me in the next round. And I like one of the guys that's already been mentioned, and I'm going to go with that. But before we get there, we got to talk a little bit about Prediction Strike. This episode is brought to you by Prediction Strike, the world's first sports stock market. Now, you can invest in a lot of things, but let's be honest, guys, we don't know a lot about everything. We'd like to think we do, but we don't. But you know a lot about professional sports, and you know a lot about professional athletes. Well, this is a lower risk alternative to sports betting, and athlete prices move based on performance and, like a business, supply and demand. For example, Thursday night, we'll see Jalen Hurts. 1 year ago, Jalen Hurts, if you bought him as a stock, you'd be up 48.2%. Last year, I saw Rashad Penny in week 13, and he hadn't done really anything to that point. He ran for like 160 yards. He looked like one of the best running backs in the league. He is up 154%. Ups and downs, but you understand these stocks more than you do, well, go buy this stock or go buy that stock. You don't know anything. You're just following what some stockbroker tells you. Don't do that. Follow what you know. Prediction Strike. All athletes benefit too and are entitled to a percentage of their market cap. 2.5% trade fees, lowest in real money sports. You can invest in 4 sports: NFL, UFC, NBA, Major League Baseball. Everyone knows you should be investing. Why not invest in what you actually know as a football fanatic? Download the Prediction Strike app and use code LOCKED, 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 for a free share when you sign up and make a first deposit of $20 or more. That's promo code LOCKED for a special one-time giveaway. Prediction Strike will choose one person who signs up with code LOCKED and makes a deposit to win 100 free random shares. That could be worth up to $3,000 if you get lucky and receive Josh Allen shares. Man, imagine if you had invested in Josh Allen in 2018 and what you'd have now in 2022. It'd be like the equivalent of Apple. Invest in what you know on Prediction Strike, the stock market for sports. We'd like to thank you for making Locked On NFL your Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today. For your second listen today, check out Locked On Sports Today. The games that matter the most, the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. Now, before we get back to my second round pick, I want to pause just for a second on the pod. Just pause it for a second. Paused? Good. You got to try the new Built Bar flavors. Cookie dough topper, coconut brownie bar, coconut brownie topper. I mean, my guys have got them right there. I'd like to show you mine, but they're in the belly of my son and me, and we can't show you. White chocolate peppermint granola. I mean, seriously, that is the version of the holidays right there. It's Built's take on the granola bar, so it's more filling and still insanely tasty. And candy cane brownie puff. Built Puffs are like biting into the universe's most delicious cloud. First off, for anybody who hasn't tried Built Bars before, they're literally the best tasting protein bars ever built, hence the name. They're revolutionizing nutrition, as we know, with 100% real chocolate, 17 grams of protein, and shockingly low sugar and calories, only 130 calories per protein bar. Sink your teeth in that first bite, and it'll change your life forever. You will want Built Bars all the time. My son still says to me, Dad, can we get some more of those Built Bars? I'm like, yeah, man, they got new flavors coming out. If you want the holiday flavors, white chocolate, peppermint, granola, it's all there. And the magical, wonderful time afterwards, you're probably wondering which new flavor is my favorite. An unanswerable question, to say the least. They're all unbelievable, and they're all different, so you can order a mixed box and try all 5 flavors for yourself. Built. You got to try this. Get 15% off your order right now by using the code LOCKEDON15 at Built.com. All right, my second round pick, make it quick. The name was already mentioned, and it was mentioned in terms of craftiness, but I'm going with Cooper Kupp and his football IQ. I feel like the Cooper Kupp, you take all of his understanding of the game, and you can see it manifest itself. Like, I think he's got all the assets you want in a wide receiver. But I'll never forget when he was asked why he knew he was going to be open after a game, he went into this breakdown, and I know other receivers probably could talk this way too, but the way that he talked through it, and it was so easy the way he talked through it, you're going to like, that guy knows ball. That guy knows what's going on. He can look out there and understand exactly what teams are doing. I'm taking Cooper Kupp's football IQ to go along with DeAndre Hopkins' hands. All right, Eric, back to you. Second-round pick. You took Devontae Adams' craftiness. What are you going to in the second round?
This isn't necessarily a trait, but I'm going to just kind of make up my own category. And I would say
Okay.
the underratedness, all right? Like the ability to be extremely productive when nobody's really talking about you, but all you are is consistent. You make the most of all your opportunities. And with this, there are two guys that come to mind. One, Brandon Cooks, who I know you've seen plenty of in Houston.
Yep.
But the other one that comes to mind is Tyler Lockett for the Seattle Seahawks. Quietly, all he does is produce. He's a vertical threat. He wins underneath. He's had to change quarterbacks and still figure out how to be productive. Nobody really mentions him much. He's a do-it-all type receiver. He's tough. He's physical, especially for someone who's small coming out of Kansas State. So he's a guy that I think should be mentioned a little bit more. So underratedness, being able to produce while being underrated, I got to throw him in that.
I like that. I like it a lot. I was really hoping he was going to be a Texan back in 2015. But the Seattle Seahawks jumped in front, took him. We took Jalen Strong. It didn't work out. But Tyler Lockett continues to work out. All right, Ryan, you end the second round and go to the third round. So you got two snake picks here.
So I'm surprised I got the ability to do this. I'm going to have to be a thief here for a minute. But when it comes down to what Deebo Samuel does with the ball in his hand, whether you call it vision or you call it yak ability, whatever it is, taking angles, getting it on the defense, once you get it to him, there are so many ways he can attack you. It doesn't matter where he catches the ball, he's going to get you something, and that leads to any opportunity that he has to break a tackle and take it to the house. That's what I'm looking for. It doesn't have to be the long, deep balls every other 5 seconds, but I got to have somebody that once they get possession, they can do something on top of it. That is Deebo Samuel in a nutshell, and I'm sure Eric was about to take him. I'm glad I got this one in.
I definitely wanted to mention him, but I didn't want to be a homer. But man, Deebo Samuel, he's got a lot of special stuff about him.
Yeah, there's no question about that. All right, Ryan, you kick off third round. Here we go.
When it comes down to the opposite way, if you're not going to be able to get that yak, if you're not going to have the short area quickness, you got to be strong at the catch point. And there's one guy that comes to mind. Nobody can top Mike Evans when you have to go up with guys draped on you, snatch that ball out of the air with two hands, and come down with it in control. The length is one thing that obviously gives you an advantage, but he is so concentrated when he has to go attack that ball in the air. That's what I love about the way that he goes about his business. He takes care of business. So I'll take both those things from Mike Evans.
Very nice. Catch point. I'll give it catch point competitiveness. All right, Eric, your third round pick. Here we go.
I took one rival and Tyler Lockett, and I'm going to take another rival, DK Metcalf. Oh. And I think most people would just go straight to his size. I'm not going to do that. What I will go to is his trash talking. I love DK's trash talking. He is a bully on the field. I saw a story of Darius Slay, and he was talking about how before the game, he had said something to DK Metcalf, and DK was like, "Shut up, B, don't talk to me." And I'm like, dang, like this guy is mean. But I like that. Be physical, be aggressive, impose your will on your teams that you're going up against. And I've seen him go back and forth with Jimmy Ward, where he's like, like, don't talk to me. You ain't got nothing to say to me. And calling people out their names. And I'm not saying I condone violence, but any receiver that carries himself and talks that way and believes in himself like that, I like it. I was a trash talker. So I think DK, he's one of the best trash talkers in the league. So I got to go to trash talking of DK Metcalf.
All right. I love it. That's very good. And by the way, did you see DK Metcalf deke the fade route on Kenneth Walker's rushing touchdown? If you haven't seen it,
beautiful.
It's just so smart and beautiful. it was fantastic. If you haven't seen it, go check it out.
It was a run. Was it a run or a screen?
It was a run.
So it was a run. He runs. He acts like the ball's in the air. He takes off, and as his running back is running into the end zone, he's pointing at the DB like silly guy.
It's so good. Now, back when I first got with the Texans, I had heard about this high school student who's playing over at Episcopal High School. And they're like, he's going to Alabama. This guy's unbelievable. He's not a big dude, but he's the fastest guy I think we've ever seen in the city of Houston. And then he went to Alabama, and he was the fastest guy on the field at all times. He's gone to Miami, and he combines with Tyreek Hill, and he's got a different gear. I'm going in the third round. I'm going with Jalen Waddle's different gear because he just seems to have a different gear than everybody else on the field. Like, he runs away from fast guys in the NFL. So I'm going with the Houstonian, but a guy that I need. I've got hands. I got football IQ with DeAndre Hopkins and Cooper Kupp, respectively, and now I'm taking Jalen Waddle's different gear, which leads me to my fourth-round pick. And Eric mentioned DK Metcalf. I have a number of guys on my board that I'm looking at various things. And I thought about, do I take a guy with an intangible? And I thought, no, maybe not. I decided to just go straight out. You think traits. I want size. I want power. I want strength. And there's one guy that stands out, and I saw him on Thursday night, and he went to Philadelphia, and I thank God every day he went to Philadelphia because he's no longer in Tennessee. I am taking A.J. Brown's beach body and putting him on my roster because if you've ever seen his picture without a shirt off, he's got a beach body. So I'm taking the beach body because I want that physicality. All right.
I don't even know how you're built like that. How are you 6
know.
feet tall, but 230 pounds, and have like 3% body fat?
So I'll tell you this quick story. In 2018, Ole Miss came to play Texas Tech in Houston. And so there had been a lot of talk about DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown. So I was excited to see the two of them. And so I was talking to the Ole Miss sideline reporter who's a friend of mine. And we look out on the field, and I see this guy out on the field. And I'm like, man, who is that? I'm like, is that a running back? Like, who is that? And he goes, no, that's A.J. I'm like, are you kidding me? And I'm seeing him from 30 yards away. And I'm like, that's not A.J. But he's like, yes, it is. So as he was going off the field, I was like, I want to make my way over and just get a real gauge. I walked as he was walking back to the tunnel. I made sure to kind of go back with him. And I swear he must have heard me because as he's going off, I'm like, holy bleep. He's that big and ripped. I'm like, this guy's a receiver? And then when he went to Tennessee, I'm like, we're in trouble. Well, thankfully, he went to Philadelphia. So I'm taking A.J. Brown's beach body, which DK Metcalf's got one too. But the trash talking works. So I'm going with A.J. Brown as my fourth-round pick. Eric, finish it up. What's your fourth trait you're looking for the ultimate NFL wide receiver?
All right, I think you guys are pointing out a lot of really good things, but I like some of the things that you can't really, put a stat on.
Yep.
And I'm going with swagger. And when it comes to swagger or drip or whatever these kids call it these days, there's one guy that really comes to mind. I love the way he plays the game. I love the way he carries himself. And that is Justin Jefferson. Young guy, got the name Jay Jettas, and he's out there, he's dancing, and he's got his teammates dancing. He has Kirk Cousins dancing and doing the gritty in the end zone. And anybody that brings that type of swagger, not just for himself, but it rubs off on Kirk Cousins, that's big time swag there. Plays with the gold grill all in his mouth, all kind of cool stuff there. So we've all talked about different traits that we know, it obviously translates from the physical standpoint, but man, having that type of ability to, incorporate your teammates in certain things and uplift their spirits, I really like that. And I think outside of him being a terrific young receiver, the swagger part is pretty cool too.
I like it. Ryan Tracy, you get the Mr. Irrelevant in the Build Your Ultimate NFL Receiver Draft. Tyreek Hill's change of direction, acceleration, short area quickness. Deebo Samuel's yak ability. Mike Evans' catch point competitiveness. How will you finish this up, my man?
I'm going to steal one because you almost sent me into a panic, John, when you picked AJ.
Ooh.
I'm going to be the first one to double dip because I'm going to take a different aspect of AJ's game, and I'm taking a page from Eric Crocker because you can't put a stat on it. But when he lines up, goes out, and plays his game, there's one thing that comes through the television to me every time I watch him. His attitude. The man plays angry, and I like it. I think that's what sets him apart. It's not competitiveness so much. It's fury, just barely caged in the receiver's body. And it's not the beach body, but hey, it can still hold it in. I think that little aspect lets you finish plays, lets you stretch plays, makes you make the difference. And that's what I'll take from A.J. Brown.
Very well done. Now, these are current wide receivers we've gone with. When we get back in our final segment, we're going to go in the Wayback Machine. Well, for me, I'm going way, way back. And we're going to pick a trait from a receiver, old school style. Doesn't count in our draft, but it's a little bonus points, if you will. We'll do that next. But first, I got to talk to you about jobs. Whether you're looking for a job, or more importantly, whether you're hiring the people for a job. LinkedIn Jobs is the right application app for anyone looking to hire. Trying to find the right people for your business has got to be the most difficult thing there is. I mean, covering A.J. Brown is probably difficult, but finding people and the right people to hire, that's even more difficult. That's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. All you got to do is add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions, know the right things to ask the candidates, find the right skills that you're looking for, find the right experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, guys, in our final segment, we found 4 wide receiver traits of current NFL players. But we're all football historians. There have been receivers through the end of time that have had a trait that you absolutely loved. There was something about a particular receiver. Guys that have gone to the Hall of Fame, guys that have just been great all-pros. I want you to pick one classic wide receiver and a trait you loved about that particular wide receiver. I'll start to give you guys a second to think if you have to. But I'm going in the way, way back machine. I have 2 favorite players of all time. And they're sort of odd in some sense, but they have the same sort of quality and characteristic. One was Gale Sayers, and the other is a wide receiver named Lance Allworth. Lance Allworth played in the AFL when the AFL was really starting to throw the football. And his nickname was Bambi because of the way that he ran. He ran on his toes, so it always looked like he was floating. And there was such a smooth nature to his game in how he ran his routes. And back in the 60s, defensive backs didn't know how to cover that. They had no idea how to handle that. His change of direction was so smooth. And he had speed that I don't think defensive backs realized until he got on their toes and they're like, whoa, this guy's running by me. He caught everything. But to me, Lance Allworth's smooth ability, the way that he did everything was so smooth. I loved watching him. I would go with Lance Allworth. I'm going to the Wayback Machine. Lance Allworth's smooth ability to get open and catch a pass was the prettiest thing I've ever seen a receiver. Eric, your turn.
Oh, this is an easy one for me. And, being a fan of the 49ers growing up, I got to watch some very special receivers. And I have to go with the spectacular catches of Brandon Lloyd. No, I'm joking. I mean, really, that was kind of exciting to watch in the mid-2000s. But, Terrell Owens, his run after catch ability, just how physical he was, and just get the ball in his hands. I remember a game specifically against the New York Giants when I was younger. And, well, actually, let's go back a little bit further than that. Let's talk about the game, the catch 2 against the Green Bay Packers, right? Steve Young slips, throws the ball. T.O. catches it, boom, takes a hit. That's exciting to see. Then a few years later, playing against the Giants. And, he just went crazy. But there's this one specific play. And I think that ability from T.O. kind of gets overshadowed by everything else when you think of T.O. But he caught like this 5-yard pass and just shrugged the guy off of him, broke another tackle, and then he's just so fast with the ball in his hands, he outruns everybody to the end zone. And I saw him do it so much, just throw guys off of him, run. He was like a jumbo-sized Deebo Samuel with like better pure receiver skills. It was special to watch him. 6'3", 225 pounds. The way he was able to run away from guys, just that pure physicality. He might drop a ball here and there, and you might deal with some things off the field, but you can never question his effort on the field. And I think he's the second greatest receiver I've ever seen in my life.
Ryan Tracy, how do you follow that up with Lance Allworth, Terrell Owens, and
you're muted.
It's real hard when you guys take some of the guys that I was thinking about. Smoothness was on my mind with like Jonathan Taylor, obviously Jerry Rice back in that day. I was thinking Andre Johnson for that kind of physicality. But I'll go even a little bit farther back. The guy that is probably the least heralded ran the best routes, and was always good for whatever kind of play you needed. I'll take Steve Largent. Heart of a lion, will get it done wherever you go, and it doesn't matter how he has to do it. He'll limp, he'll crawl. The end of his career, I think, was a little bit sad to watch, but hey, at the end of the day, that guy was an Iron Man for a very long time.
Okay, so it's funny you bring that up. This debate actually happened in the Houston Texans workroom the other day. And this is where it's going. One of the media members, DJ Bieniemy from ESPN, who covers the Texans for ESPN, had said that Antonio Brown and I can't remember the other receiver he had come up with, but he said there are very few receivers. Basically, at the time, he was saying there were no two receivers better than those two. Antonio Brown, I can't remember the other one. And people were bringing up all these guys left and right. And I jokingly just threw out, I said, I was kind of like off to the side, not really paying attention, but I went, Steve Largent. And I swear to you, 4 of them looked at me and was like, what, who?
Oh.
And not 30 seconds later, which was great, Lovie Smith walked in. And I said Steve Largent's name, and he looked at me and he went, bingo, alma mater, Tulsa, because they both went to Tulsa. So it was good. I had Lovie on my side, but I thought it was interesting because Steve Largent, they were like, I don't know, no idea. I'm like, man, no,
you're only
Steve
35.
Largent? Yeah, exactly. So exactly, they weren't going to know Steve Largent, but I understand. Gentlemen, great job as always. And we want to thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast, the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. And Locked On Chiefs, Locked On 49ers. Make sure you're checking those 2 great shows out. They got plenty to talk about, so make sure you're checking those out as well. For Eric, for Ryan, I'm John. We appreciate you guys being here. We'll be back next week breaking it all down as we always do right here on Locked On NFL Draft. Let's go.